Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's news and rumors are presented by our awesome sponsor, Panda Supps. If you want to get healthier, I recommend trying the greens, and for a special offer this week only, if you use code JUSTGreensBaby, you can get 50% off all the greens. If you want to just save 35% on everything else, use code Raiders. That link is going to be available for y'all in the comments and in the description of today's video. So we got a lot to talk about today. There is no doubt about it, because right before the show started, the Raiders, they signed wide receiver Isaiah Zuber. So originally, Las Vegas had 89 players on their roster. You can hold 90. So now they are officially at 90. Therefore, if they wanted to sign a free agent player, maybe like Ndamukong Suh, we'll talk about him here in a little bit, they would have to release him. But Zuber didn't play last season. The only time he's ever suited up was in 2020. This might surprise you. On the New England Patriots, he had 2 catches for 29 yards. He also carried the ball 2 times for 21 yards. Other news that happened right before the show started. The Raiders, they sent 3 players to the PUP list, and this really was not too much of a surprise. Jonathan Hankins, he's been battling a back/knee injury. Bilal Nichols has been battling a knee injury, and Trayvon Mullen had that foot cleaned up. The information and why this is important is because usually when you hear PUP list, people panic. But no, technically, they can practice as soon as they are medically cleared, and here's the kicker, and this is the important date that I need you guys to save as Patrick sends in a $50 super. We're ready to get this thing going. If those players do not practice by August 23rd, then they are out the first 4 weeks of the season. You will not see them until week 5. So August 23rd, circle it on your calendar. Make sure Hankins, Bilal Nichols, and Trayvon Mullen are practicing by those dates. All right, y'all, let's get into today's show. What do you think? Keelan Cole, he is going to be the Raiders' wide receiver 3 this upcoming season. I'm a Keelan Cole fan. You know how I feel about this guy, and I'm giving this one 3 just win babies. I believe that it's pretty likely. When the Raiders went out and they signed Cole, they traded away Bryan Edwards, and according to The Athletic, right now Cole has the early lead over Demarcus Robinson. And I'm not surprised the Raiders gave Keelan Cole more money than they gave Demarcus. And you know what we say? Money talks. If you want to know what a team feels about a guy, especially some of these roster players, they're close in terms of Keelan Cole, Mack, Hollins, Demarcus Robinson. Look at the money. Keelan Cole got more money, and I told y'all, he's a better route runner than what he's gotten credit for. He's been on some pretty shitty teams. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And when I go back and I look at some of his best years, right? When he was a rookie in 2017, 42 catches, 748 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, Keelan Cole's working with QBs that they're like not even in the league anymore, minus Zach Wilson. The only thing Zach Wilson has done of relevance over the last 365 days is hit on a few MILFs. That's literally the only thing that guy's done. But Cole, throughout his career, when you've put good talent around him, and he's never really had it, even when he's had mediocre talent, he's still done a pretty good job. Look at 2020, look at 2017. So I have updated my wide receiver depth chart. I know it's Davante Adams as your 1. Hunter Renfro's in the slot, but he might as well be your wide receiver 2. Keelan Cole is going to get the 3rd most targets from the receiver position. We're talking about Demarcus Robinson in a little bit, and I'll also mention Mack Hollins here in just a second. But you know who also agrees with me? Madden. Now, Madden doesn't always get it right? I mean, we know that. Adams is a 99, Renfro's an 85 overall. Keelan Cole's a 77, and then Demarcus Robinson at 76, Mack Hollins at 70, and then some of the other players here on the Raiders, Tyron Johnson, Dylan Stoner, BC Turner, Hall, and Isaiah Zuber. You are not ranked on Madden, but you know what? Neither was Tom Brady in his 2nd year, and I think his career turned out to be pretty okay. If you love the Raiders, then subscribe to the Raiders Report. How do you scan this QR code right here? I want you to get out your cell phone, okay? If you're watching this on your phone, well, then you're kind of out of luck. Then you just got to go to youtube.com/RaidersReport. If you're watching this on your TV, if you're watching this on your laptop, get out your cell phone camera right now, scan this code right here, subscribe to the Raiders Report, because this is the time of the year that this show is about to get wild. Let's go to the next story. Demarcus Robinson. Could the Raiders actually cut him? This one is only 1 just win, baby. but it is not impossible. And the story that this reminds me of is John Brown. John Brown, when the Raiders signed him, I was excited about Brown. I thought that he was going to be a good fit. However, the early reports right now that I am hearing and seeing, Keelan Cole and Mack Hollins have the early lead over Robinson. And then on top of that, let's say he is the fifth receiver on the team. Carrying a fifth receiver who doesn't offer any special teams value doesn't bode well for Robinson, because technically the guys that he's going to be competing with are Mack Hollins and Tyron Johnson, who, let's face it, they don't only offer you special teams ability, they also offer you more speed than Demarcus Robinson. So I'm telling y'all right now, he is going to be a surprise cut candidate on some videos that I'm going to be putting out in futuristic Raiders Report videos. Over the past 5 years and throughout his career, he's been on good offenses. He's had some solid games, no doubt about that. And the game I always remember of Demarcus Robinson was the 6 catches, 177 yards at the Coliseum, 3 touchdowns. I mean, it was an absolutely heartbreaking game. But I do feel like that's the game a lot of Raiders players or Raiders fans think of when they think of Robinson. And I'll tell you this right now, I don't really know if you're going to ever see that again, because he is a good athlete. But Robinson's never been that great route runner compared to Keelan Cole, and he doesn't have the speed of those other 2 dudes. So here's the question that I want to know. So every person that comes across the Raiders Report today, tomorrow, a week from now, if you see this video, if you had to pick one to cut, who are you cutting? Is it 89, Keelan Cole, Mack Hollins, type 10, Demarcus Robinson, type 11, Tyron Johnson, type 1? If I had to cut one, sorry, Johnson, I'm cutting you. I'm typing 1. Coming up next here on the Raiders Report, could the Silver and Black trade for Bengals star safety Jessie Bates? Now remember, part of my job here is to talk about trending stories, which this has been put out there on the internet, has been circulating out there, and the Raiders were linked to Jessie Bates. I'll tell you who said it and what I think about this story, but first, I got to give some love to Panda Sups. Remember, y'all, use code JUSTGreensBaby, 50% off at pandasups.com. That link is going to be available for y'all in the comments and in the description of today's video. Your daily nutrition in just one scoop. Do you know how difficult it is to eat vegetables? Do you know how difficult it is to be healthy in today's world when you're busy, working all the time, drinking Fireball? It's not that simple. Luckily for you, you take 1 scoop in the morning of greens, and for people who don't like coffee, this also has caffeine in it. It's going to wake you up a little bit. It's going to take care of your joints. It's going to make sure that your gut's taken care of. It's going to give you that energy boost. Your hair, your skin, your nails, immune system, it's all covered. So use code JUSTGreenBabies, 50% off this week only at pandasups.com. And this is for only the greens. I know some of y'all like other greens, but hey, just try it out. I promise you're going to like it a lot. Let's talk about Jessie Bates. And are the Raiders the favorites to trade for Bates? If this was for Just Win Babies, they'd be the masturbators. However, it's only one Just Win baby. I don't think that it's very likely that it ends up happening, though the people that threw this out here was CBS. And for those of you that have followed the show here, or maybe followed some of the other content that I have produced at Chat Sports, we've talked about Jessie Bates potentially asking for a trade because he doesn't want to play under the franchise tag, which he is set to make $12.9 million with the Bengals. He wants a long-term deal. He wants some extra money. And the Raiders, they can do it, right? They got $17.5 million, 5th most in salary cap space, which that number has recently been updated because Over the Cap finally updated some of their numbers on the back end. But the fact that CBS mentioned the Raiders, and we'll break down the top 8 teams that CBS looked at, but I talked to Tom Downey, host of the Cowboys Report, and I was like, Tom, I don't know if you saw this. The Cowboys were ranked number 2. He's like, Cowboys, no chance they do it because they don't spend a lot on safety. So I'm like, okay, take Cowboys out of the equation. CBS then thinks it's Eagles, and then technically, let's say the Raiders there. Patriots, Colts, Niners, Commanders, Jets. The fact that Las Vegas is top 3 for Bates, it seriously reminds me of when I laughed at the fact that the Raiders were top 3 for Antonio Brown. Hopefully, if the Raiders traded for Bates, it would turn out to be a lot better. The reason why I just don't really see it happening is because I see it costing more than a first-round pick. If Jamal Adams is going for 2 first-rounders, what makes you think that Bates isn't going to go for at least 1? He's going to go for 1. Also, he wants to be a top 5 paid safety, and not that he's not a great player. For those that know, I really like Jessie Bates. But if you're telling me right now, would I rather invest $17 million a year in Bates or throw that into a defensive tackle position, for the love of God, that's what I would do. Also, the Raiders are very high on Deron Harmon, and they have high hopes for him entering this season. So what I wanted to try to do is show you, right, because if you talk about a trade, it's important to realize what it's going to potentially cost. So I'm saying at the low end, this is a low-end trade. Raiders get Jessie Bates. The Bengals get a first-round pick in 2023. You also then have to probably make Bates the highest-paid safety in the league, maybe even more money than Minkah Fitzpatrick at $18.4 million. And if you're sitting here saying, no way I'm going to do this trade, then you don't want Jessie Bates. But if you're like, you know what? I think it makes sense. We have Trayvon Mullen, we'd have Jessie Bates, we'd have one of the best young secondaries in the entire league. So would you do it? Why for yes and for no? This is simply what I think it would cost on the low end for the Silver and Black. Coming up next here on the Raiders Report, we got some more injury news to hit. And when I designed this show, I didn't anticipate the PUP list news to come out, so we're going to talk about Trayvon Mullen here in just a second. But always remember, y'all, this is the time of the year. Hit me up, IG, Twitter. Make sure you're following me on these social media platforms, because the amount of information that starts to flow around training camp, preseason, the regular season, it's a lot. And I do not want you to miss anything. I promise you I'll keep you up to date, and we're going to have some fun on social media as well. So The Athletic released an article talking about multiple injuries, and here's what some of the injuries that they ended up breaking down were. Some notable players missed all of OTAs due to injury, including running back Kenyon Drake, Denzel Good, cornerback Trayvon Mullen, and linebacker Divine Diablo practice, but he wore a red non-contact jersey. For those that don't know, Divine hurt his right hand. Defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins missed all of OTAs, and running back Samir White and defensive tackle Bilal Nichols missed most sessions, but they were all healthy scratches. Among the players who were banged up, that 3 potential starters in Good, Mullen, and Diablo, and a key backup in Drake. Diablo participated in most drills, and Good was observed working on his conditioning while the training staff, but Drake and Mullen were on the field. Drake is progressing nicely from the broken ankle he suffered last season and should return before the end of camp. So, with the news that came out today about Trayvon Mullen on the PUP list, this story is even more juicy. Mullen's not going to be ready for week 1. I mean, now this story really turns into Mullen potentially being out the first 4 weeks. I'm going to stick, though, with week 1. Might not be 100% healthy. I'm going to give this one 2 just win, baby. So if anybody's got a quarter, flip it in the air. Heads or tails. Let me know what it lands on, because we know that Mullen can be good. Take a drink, because how many times have I said this? Mullen can be a great cornerback. He really can. He's just never healthy. He's never on the field, and the Raiders are concerned about his injury history. They are concerned how much he loves football. They are concerned how much work he is putting in this offseason to get back. This guy had foot surgery on May 3rd, right after the NFL draft. Originally, it was labeled as a cleanup, but cleanups don't usually take as long as what it has for Mullen. So the fact that this guy missed 12 games last season, I know his first 2 seasons he didn't miss any games, but if you follow the team, it almost seems like every single week Mullen was dealing with a minor injury here or there, and how many times would he leave the game? I want Mullen on the field. I want him repping the jersey. But if he's never on the field, then there's no availability there, and then you can have an opportunity where, who knows, maybe you go out and get somebody else. This is what The Athletic had to say on Mullen. The status of Mullen, who had offseason surgery on his foot, is more up in the air. Among the players in this group, his status is the most concerning. Whether most or all of them can return before the season opener, it will be something to monitor. So here's my question to the nation out there. Do you think he's going to be ready, or do you think he's going to be hurt? Will Trayvon Mullen be ready for week 1? Let me know down in those comments right now. R for ready or H for hurt. All right, coming up next here on the Raiders Report, we're going to look at some super thanks. Remember, for those of you that can't join our live show every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific, you also have the opportunity to send in a super thanks. So Jamie Tice Come on, Mitch. Everyone is just counting. Jacobs out. Watch and see. There's too many high-powered receivers to watch, plus Jacobs just ain't going to happen. Jacobs goes for 1,000-plus yards, 16 touchdowns. What are your thoughts? I have him going for 1,000-plus yards. 16 touchdowns is a little bit much because they have Zamir White and because they have a lot of those other options in the red zone. But 1,000 yards and 9, 10 touchdowns for Jacobs, I think is absolutely possible. Ox3131, thank you for your content. It's much appreciated. Put your coach hat on and please give me your 5 starting offensive linemen via trade sign or already on the roster. If I had to predict if my life was on the line right now, I would say the projected line I'm going to go with Colt Miller, Dylan Parham, Andre James, Denzel Good, and then Alex Otherwood at right tackle. Herschel Allen just says, thanks, appreciate you guys tuning in, supporting the show. Believe it or not, it does, man. It helps a lot, especially in these off-season times. Did you think the rumor section was over? No. Let's talk about Ndamukong Suh. And this one doesn't really have too much to do with the Raiders, but the fact that there's a report out there that Suh wants to sign somewhere before training camp. Minnesota just released quarterback Nate Stanley, which opens up a roster spot. The Raiders just signed their Isaiah Zuber, so now they got 90 guys on the team. The Raiders training camp starts the 20th, tomorrow. The Vikings training camp starts July 26th. I don't know if that report is 100% accurate, but I do know this. Right now, if I was betting on which team is more likely to sign Suh, I'd probably put more money on the Vikings than I would the Raiders, and, well, that kind of breaks my heart.